I am the legitimate daughter of the Prime Minister's household, raised in a secluded nunnery. I am delicate and timid. A slight breeze could knock me over. My unkind father scolds me for not being dignified enough. He punishes me by making me kneel in the ancestral hall. That same night, a raging fire consumed the ancestral tablets. When faced with a choice, my elder brother chose our half-sister over me. Not long after, my brother fell from his horse and broke his leg. My fiancé declared that he only loved my half-sister. Later that night, his head was shaved completely bald. No one suspected me at all. After all, I was truly weak. Until one day, I was in the middle of slipping a laxative into the crown prince's drink, and was caught red-handed by the eldest prince. Finally, someone discovered me at last. It was so exhausting to keep this hidden. I tied up the eldest prince. The dagger slowly descended. Join me or align yourself with the Eastern Depot. Pick one for yourself. There are countless great novels out there. The small bottle cap takes up half the space. Here comes another batch of high-quality, completed stories. Make sure to connect to good Wi-Fi, everyone. The captivating story begins now. I am the legitimate child of the current Prime Minister's first wife. Several years ago, my grandmother fell gravely ill. A favored concubine invited a Taoist priest to perform rituals. She claimed I was the one who brought misfortune to my grandmother. So I was sent away to Intang. I ended up staying there for 10 years. Now I am 17 years old. It's the age when marriage is being discussed. Father, the Prime Minister, finally remembered me. The carriage from the Prime Minister's residence was parked outside Intang. A few nuns nervously watched me leave, as if they were bidding farewell to a plague. Master hurried over, specifically instructing Fu Yao. Make sure no one ever uncovers your true identity. Constantly remind yourself, you are nothing more than a fragile woman. I agreed to present the freshly strangled rabbit to my master. Master, here is something for your dinner. Consider it a parting gift from your disciple. The old man, my master, twitched at the corner of his mouth. He took the rabbit from me, drawing in a deep breath. You are just a delicate woman. Next time, you absolutely must not take a life in front of others. How could you even think of taking a life? You simply cannot do that. You are a delicate beauty. Wake up, I am a fragile beauty. My ears are about to grow calluses from hearing this. The servants at the Prime Minister's residence were growing impatient. They urged the eldest young lady with stern faces, hurry up and get in the carriage. The time has already been delayed. The elderly lady and the Prime Minister might hold me accountable. I obediently responded with a soft acknowledgement, covering my lips with a handkerchief, climbing into the carriage awkwardly and hesitantly. An older woman noticed how slowly I was moving. She let out a cold sneer. Something so unpresentable. How could it ever compare to the second young lady? The second young lady is the half-sister born of a noble concubine. The family also has an elder brother. In my childhood, I was adopted under my mother's name. But he was also born to a favored concubine. That concubine came from a background in entertainment. She won my father's deep affection. After my mother passed away, I was left isolated and helpless in the Prime Minister's residence. Once I was humiliated by a distant relative. I knocked him unconscious, and then dragged him into the pond. The Prime Minister's household eventually noticed. It was just an excuse to expel me. That day, my grandmother pointed at my nose and scolded me, calling me a disgrace. After being sent to the temple for punishment, the nuns followed the orders of the favored concubine and tormented me relentlessly. I was beaten so badly that my entire body was covered in bruises. That night, I caught a sack full of snakes and placed them into the nun's bedroom. Then I locked the door from the outside. The master I met was a little old man I found by the roadside. Although he taught me many things, he always wanted me to appear gentle and meek. He often said, Fuyao, you should just be a normal little girl. Don't go around causing total destruction all the time. And make sure to go easy when you take action. After that, I never dealt a lethal blow to the nuns again. They started following my lead without hesitation, spreading false information, and even showing me the letters sent by high-ranking concubines when going to the capital. The favored concubine has been secretly giving me slow-acting drugs, a kind of medication that makes one become overweight and unsightly. I have been saving these drugs to take back to the capital. so that the favored concubine and her daughter can taste them for themselves. The carriage arrived at the Prime Minister's residence. No one came out to greet us. The old servants were impatient. One of the older women muttered that the eldest daughter was not favored. She had grown up in a nunnery all her life. She was like a rustic village girl. This trip turned out to be a task without any profit. They escorted me back to the mansion. No one gave out any rewards. Naturally, there was nothing to gain. The deadly black widow in my purse had just been taken out by me. And then I slowly put it back in. In my heart, I kept repeating that I am a fragile woman. I must restrain myself a bit. So, I only used itching powder. Suddenly, the three women started itching all over, randomly grabbing on the spot. Disheveled appearance. Grandmother was furious. Ordered 3 servant women to each receive 10 heavy strikes. I blinked my eyes, standing awkwardly to the side. No one should even think of suspecting me. Grandmother looked at me, gave me a thorough once-over. It has been 10 years since we last met. She has become even more stunning. After all, she is the eldest daughter of the Prime Minister's household. Her beauty isn't entirely wasted. The attire of a noble concubine. It seemed almost unbelievable. She kept staring at me over and over again. Those letters he received from her were actually written by a nun on my behalf. In the letters, the nun lied to him, saying I had been tortured to the point of becoming neither fully human nor fully ghost. In that moment, Zhuang's expression looked as if she had seen a ghost. Shumi Songjin couldn't hold back at all, and blurted out, How is this even possible? How could she be so stunning? Zhuang interrupted her mid-sentence, with a glance that signaled her to stop speaking recklessly. It seemed that Songjin was also aware of her. Auntie had been secretly giving me slow-acting poison. I blinked my big eyes, with an innocent expression on the face, staring blankly at them. Second sister and aunt. Why do you both look so surprised to see me? Has it really been 10 years since we last met? Do I seem unfamiliar to you now? As she spoke, tears quietly streamed down her face, crying pitifully with a tone of grievance. It feels like the family has already forgotten about me. Oh, how heartbreaking it truly is. Grandmother found it bothersome. Hurriedly offered a few words of comfort, then instructed the maid to bring over some rewards. I expressed my gratitude and accepted them, pretended to display an awkward mother-daughter expression, while forcing a smile to appear. When the irresponsible father returned, the family feast finally began. Madame Zhuang held my hand and seated me by his side. This arrangement was quite satisfactory. Let me quickly get my prescription for chronic medication. Zhuang sure faced the scoundrel father directly. She personally served me a bowl of soup. Fuyao appeared slender and delicate. These 10 years at the inn hall were surely spent in devoted cultivation. It seems the hostility in her aura has likely dissipated. I noticed Zhuangshi's fingertips twitch slightly. If he wanted to cause trouble, I played along with his intentions. Otherwise, how could I showcase my frailty? He handed over the bowl of soup. The moment my hand brushed against the soup bowl, he immediately let go. The soup bowl hit the floor, making a complete mess. I instinctively pulled back, avoiding being scalded. But I was startled instead, letting out a sharp scream. Ease, mother, why did you let go so quickly like that? I haven't caught it yet. Zhuang's expression changed immediately. She hurriedly pretended to assist Fuyao. Did you get burned? It's my fault, my dear. It must not be the case, because you couldn't catch it. It's my fault entirely. It's all my fault. Zhuang turned her head to look at the negligent father. Master, I acted with good intentions, but things went wrong. Have the servants replace the set of dishes right away. Father's expression turned cold and grim. He reprimanded me for lacking proper decorum. Shouting like this, what kind of behavior is that? Are you really this timid? It was merely a bowl that broke. I said nothing and simply let my tears fall. I am too weak. Whatever happens in the manor tonight, it has nothing to do with me. The scumbag father furrowed his brows, growing increasingly impatient. Go kneel in the ancestral hall. Come out only after you've reflected on your actions. When will you have truly reflected? I was completely stunned. My body wobbled unsteadily. My face turned deathly pale. She was dragged out by the maids. The smiles on the faces of the Zhuang mother and daughter were nearly impossible to hide. You seem to love smiling so much. Then I must make sure to ruin the mouths of those two. They won't be able to smile tomorrow. Under the faint light of the moon and scattered stars, the quiet of the deep night is the perfect time to set a fire. I stared at the ancestral tablets of the Song family and thought of my mother who passed away from illness. Why is my mother's tablet missing from the ancestral hall? If that's the case, then let's burn it all. The flames ignited the drapes before the fire could fully spread. I leapt out of the window. I landed on the rooftop. I found my way to Song Jin's bedroom. The house of Shumi is truly extravagant. She was sleeping like a log. I applied the drug near the corner of her lips. Soon after, I made another trip to the bedroom of the Zhuang family. She and that scoundrel father were tangled together. Both of them were sleeping like logs. After drugging Madame Zhuang, I gave it some thought and decided to prepare a dose for that scoundrel father as well. Fairness demands equal treatment, after all. A fire broke out, calling for urgent rescue. The blaze finally roused that scoundrel father from his slumber. He rushed over hastily in a panic, only to find the ancestral tablets were beyond saving. Taking advantage of the chaos, I wandered around the kitchen. I devoured 2 large chicken drumsticks. Only then did I leisurely make my way back near the ancestral hall. When the servants found me, I was lying by the well, completely stuffed. I stayed motionless, sprawled out. They thought I was about to die. No one dared to come near me. I had to slowly crawl up on my own. Bursting into tears, I couldn't stop sobbing. Words failed to form. I was so scared it nearly killed me. Trembling, I glanced toward the direction of the scoundrel father and Madame Zhuang. I pointed behind them. A mother and her daughter. I almost had the chance to meet you. The disheveled scoundrel father and Madame Zhuang. They shivered slightly in the night breeze, and even turned to look behind them. The scoundrel father questioned why the ancestral hall was in such a state. Why did it catch fire? I kept my eyes fixed ahead, murmuring softly to myself, "Mother, have you come to take your daughter home?" With those words, I closed my eyes and collapsed weakly to the ground. Grandmother arrived in a hurry. She looked around in every direction, involuntarily wrapping her arms tightly around herself, as if worried about seeing something she shouldn't. Don't let her die just like that. The marriage arrangements with the Liu family are about to be finalized. Hurry and carry her away. What a timid and useless person. I almost remembered it. When my mother was still alive, Madame Liu and my mother arranged a childhood engagement. Madame Liu will only acknowledge me as her daughter-in-law. Because of my overly gentle nature, no one suspected me in the matter of the ancestral hall fire. Everyone assumed it was sheer luck that I survived. Escaping from the fire seemed almost impossible. The next day, my irresponsible father showed up. Both Zhuang Shi and Zhuang Jin had blisters forming around their lips. The attending physician was helpless. He could only prescribe a few remedies to lower the internal heat. But something about the whole situation felt strange. Someone, with a loose tongue, muttered something suspicious. Last night, it was claimed, the eldest daughter saw the spirit of the deceased madam. There seems to be something suspicious about the lady's death. Could it be that the lady was murdered? Have you heard about it? The fire at the ancestral hall was said to be caused by the lady's spirit returning for revenge. Otherwise, why would the young miss have walked out of the fire unharmed? The lady would never harm her own daughter. You might not know this. Those 3 started spreading rumors. It's the lady's restless spirit causing trouble. Word spread like wildfire from 1 to 10, and then 10 to 100. In less than a day, the Prime Minister's residence was shrouded in heavy gloom. The Zhuang mother and daughter covered their faces with veils. Zhuang repeated her old tricks. She once again found the Taoist who had labeled me a jinx years ago. He still wants to pin an unjust name on me, huh? Although the past 2 days have been rather unlucky, it turns out to be an opportunity just as well. As long as Song Fuao is alive, the Liu family's marriage cannot be tied to my son. Song Jin choked back tears, calling out for her mother. When will the sore on my lip finally heal? I have a brother from the Liu family. It's been quite some time since we last met. Madame Zhuang comforted Song Jin. She gave a few instructions to the Taoist priest. Only then did she leave his side. The 2 of them had just walked out the door. I landed on the roof right after they left. The Taoist priest hadn't even begun to speak. I opened my palm and gently blew on it. The bone-softening powder scattered across his face. Before long, agonizing screams echoed from the room like a pig being slaughtered. It was so noisy that I simply dislocated the Taoist's jaw, tilting my head to one side. I smiled brightly as I looked at this wicked Taoist. Do you still remember me? 10 years ago. You declared me a nemesis, the eldest daughter of the Song family. It let out a couple of low whimpers. I casually tossed a goo worm into her mouth. My smile grew even brighter. Don't be scared. It's just a bloodthirsty goo worm. It will slowly feed on your blood, growing gradually inside your body, until it eventually devours your heart. The Taoist's eyes widened. He nearly fainted. I pressed firmly on the acupoint under his nose. Don't let him lose consciousness. When you visit tomorrow, this is what you should do. I kept it brief and to the point. The Taoist nodded repeatedly. I made grand promises to him. Behave yourself and follow instructions. I will help you remove the curse. Yeah, right, there's no cure at all. If you want to lift the curse, you must forcibly remove the parasite. I was still too soft-hearted and kind. I didn't directly kill the Taoist. The next day, the Taoist came to visit. The mother and daughter of the Zhuang family still had their faces covered. The two exchanged a glance. It seemed as if everything was under their control. But when the Taoist pointed at them, claiming they were the true harbingers of disaster, the mother and daughter froze in place. You're talking nonsense. The Taoist knelt before the grandmother. Oh, madam. I am now advanced in years. I no longer dare to commit acts against my conscience. A decade ago, it was the Zhuang family who bribed me. They had me falsely accuse the young lady. In truth, he was the one causing harm. Grandmother places the greatest trust in such matters. When the Zhuang family rushed forward, grandmother immediately waved them away and said not to get near her. I was too scared to speak and covered my mouth, sobbing uncontrollably. So it turns out this is true. Aunt, why would you harm me? I am merely a helpless woman. You can't even tolerate someone like me, targeting me intentionally. Could it be all for the sake of my second sister? The mother and daughter were left dumbfounded. Yet her lips twitched fiercely in response. She glanced at me briefly, then immediately shifted her gaze away. The gaze seemed to fear me. He once again accused the Zhuang family. Oh, dear madam. What I have said is entirely true. The true misfortune of your household, if it's not eliminated, the consequences would be unimaginable. Punishment from above will descend. Grandmother believed it. After all, even the ancestral tablets were burned. Madame Zhuang knelt down, pleading with grandmother for forgiveness. Grandmother was unmoved and instructed the others to drag Madame Zhuang to the small Buddhist chapel. Without my permission, she is forbidden to take even a single step out. I softly agreed. Grandmother, your granddaughter spent 10 years in the nunnery, eating only vegetarian meals all this time. The nuns in the nunnery often said that a vegetarian diet could purify and ward off evil spirits. Grandmother instructed the maidservants on her side. Starting from today, all 3 meals for the Zhuang family will be replaced with simple vegetable porridge. Zhuang was dragged away. Song Jin also fell out of favor. Grandmother, fearing any negative influence, decided not to allow Song Jin to attend to her. I took the opportunity to suggest something to grandmother. Father is in his prime years. He should not be without someone close by to serve him. It's time to arrange a concubine for my father. Grandmother is terrified of dying. After returning to the room, I repeatedly washed my hands, afraid that I might have touched something unclean. But he has no idea that I've already planted a heart-eating curse on him. The wicked old woman deserves to be fed to the curse. Grandmother agreed, and ordered the steward to find suitable candidates. I paid a visit to the brothel, found a woman afflicted with syphilis, brought her into the household. The steward had once treated my mother kindly and promoted her, worked with me to give the woman a new identity, transforming her completely. She became a concubine of the scumbag father. That very night, the concubine was sent to the scumbag father's room. The scumbag father was thoroughly pleased, proving his vigor hadn't faded with age. He called for water 3 times before midnight. I truly am the epitome of filial piety. Before taking down that scumbag father of mine, I still thought about letting him enjoy a few days of comfort. As soon as trouble arose with the Zhuang family, Song Jin immediately sent someone to the Western Capital military camp and called her elder brother back. though her brother was adopted under their mother's name and gained the status of the legitimate son. His heart always leaned toward Zhuang's mother and daughter. The day I was sent to the nunnery 10 years ago, the elder brother held Song Jin's second sister in his arms. From now on, you will be the only cherished daughter of the Song family. But when mother was alive, she clearly treated the elder brother extremely well. And yet he has such a cruel and heartless nature. The elder brother came to my courtyard. He was just about to reprimand me. But then he saw my utterly confused expression. All I could do was shed tears. He opened his mouth to speak. I can't find the words to say. I choked up, brother. You're so harsh. Did I do something wrong? His anger completely vanished. Scratching his head, I felt so foolish. How could I even suspect you? You're so timid and afraid. A gust of wind made me shiver, covering my chest with one hand, struggling for breath. Brother, I was wrong. I shouldn't have been so immature 10 years ago. And now, I've made another mistake. My elder brother frowned and asked, "What is it that you did wrong?" I blinked and stammered, "I don't know. If you all blame me, then I will admit my fault." My brother finally let out a sigh, and went to plead in front of our grandmother again. It's a shame that grandmother is too selfish. She is completely unyielding. She refuses to release Madame Zhuang, fearing that Madame Zhuang might bring her misfortune. 2 days later, I accompanied grandmother along with Song Jin to the mountain to pray to Buddha. Grandmother dared not tell anyone that she had seen my mother for 2 nights in a row. Perhaps it was my longing for my mother that caused this. I couldn't sleep in the middle of the night, wandering around wearing my mother's dress, simply because I was drifting around the Prime Minister's residence at night. I accidentally saw Song Jin meeting with Madame Zhuang. The mother and daughter discussed a matter. They planned to take advantage of this trip to the mountains by bribing mountain bandits to kidnap me and ruin my reputation. Thus, the marriage between the Song and Lu families could only be given to Song Jin. The mother and daughter chatted warmly. I suddenly leapt forward. Startled, the two of them screamed and dodged. Song Jin had a restless night. I was genuinely concerned about her. Second sister, you have dark circles under your eyes. Your complexion seems duller too. Have you been overeating lately? Your waistline appears broader as well. The effects of the slow-acting medicine are starting to show. I kindly reminded him. Song Jin glared at my sister. It collapses with the slightest breeze. You should focus on taking care of yourself. I leaned against my grandmother, pressing down so much it made his neck hurt. Yes, I am way too weak. When we smoothly finished offering incense and descended the mountain, some bandits indeed showed up, even putting on a dramatic performance of a forced choice scenario. I could sense the arrogance radiating from Song Jin. He even cast a sidelong glance at me, even with half of his face covered. His contempt was still written all over his expression. The young master Song. Both of them are your sisters. Today, you can only take one away. The elder brother did not hesitate. He pointed directly at Song Jin. The bandits released Song Jin, held me back. Grandmother was in a hurry to flee for her life. The group immediately set off on their journey. They didn't even glance back at me. A few mountain bandits had faces covered in silver-streaked blood. What a lucrative score, this was truly worth it. In just a few breaths, the mountain bandits' screams startled the birds in the forest. The birds fluttered their wings and scattered into the distance. The Song family's convoy hadn't gone far yet. The horse my elder brother was riding suddenly reared up on its hind legs, throwing him off its back. I withdrew the hidden arrow from my sleeve and watched with my own eyes as my elder brother fell and broke a leg. If he's crippled, can he still serve at the Western capital's military camp? Then let's give him another poison needle. My elder brother let out another miserable scream. It sounded even worse than a pig being slaughtered during the new year. I returned home safe and sound. The entire residence was in chaos. My grandmother and Song Jin didn't even have the chance to question my innocence. I weakly walked to the door of my elder brother's room, with one hand holding onto the railing, and the other clutching my chest. Brother, oh brother, are you about to die? Basins of bloodied water were carried out one after another. So pitiful it was to witness. I'm afraid it won't be easy to die quickly. Then just endure it and keep going. The master said so. He told me I must restrain myself a bit. I absolutely can't wipe everyone out at once. Annihilating everyone is just too ruthless. In the end, my elder brother managed to keep his life, but he was undoubtedly rendered useless. When the scumbag father returned to the house, he sighed heavily in regret. Order someone to thoroughly investigate that group of mountain bandits. It's lucky that I spared the lives of those few people. Right when Song Jin questioned my innocence, the truth was quickly uncovered by my scoundrel father's men. Song Jin angrily pointed at my sister. You fell into the hands of wicked people. How could you return completely unscathed? Did you perhaps resort to some disgraceful means? You are the fiancé of Brother Liu from the Liu family. If you were to lose your honor. But how could she ever face the Liu family brother? Song Jin thought he had finally risen to a higher position this time. Yet, in the very next moment, the broad hand of her despicable father came swinging down. You unfilial daughter. Plotting schemes with your aunt was quite the act. Now look, trying to gain an advantage only to end up worse off. You two fools dragged down the only son this old man has. At least the elder brother turned out to be somewhat capable. The pitiable scoundrel of a father. The most promising son met his downfall. It was all ruined by his beloved concubine and cherished daughter. How tragic that Song Jin was struck so hard her face turned aside. Her body collapsed to the ground as well. I clasped my hands over my mouth, stunned and frozen with fear. How could the concubine and second sister conspire together to harm my brother? I ran crying all the way to my brother's bedroom. I revealed the truth to him. Brother, it was the concubine and second sister who bribed the mountain bandits. The man from Liu was also a mountain bandit who severely injured you. Why do you think they wanted to destroy you? Your older brother has just barely regained consciousness. He has just learned that he is now crippled, and then discovered it was caused by his own mother and sister. He was so overwhelmed with sorrow and anger that he spat out a mouthful of blood, which sprayed a yard away. And once again, he fell unconscious. Another unfortunate soul, Song Jin, has also been placed under house arrest. Now, there's no one left to come to the rescue. Unexpectedly, the maid by his side came pleading in front of Lu Chuan. But Lu Chuan is my fiancé. Lu Chuan stormed into our home, causing a huge commotion. He threatened to cancel the engagement, and even demanded that grandmother release Song Jin. Grandmother summoned me over. Lu Chuan hadn't seen me in 10 years, and a decade ago, he personally witnessed me knocking out a distant relative who had insulted me. In Lu Chuan's eyes, I am nothing more than a malicious woman. He sneered and said, I will never settle for a marriage of convenience. If Song Jiero refuses to agree to the marriage exchange, then I will not fulfill the engagement. I kept silent, overwhelmed by an immense shock. I fainted on the spot. Lu Chuan lost his arrogance at that moment. This was the first time he had caused a woman to faint from anger. She was clearly a malicious woman. Why did she faint so easily? He was indeed quite fierce. The matter reached the Liu family estate. Madame Liu was at odds with his mother. After his mother left, he still held on to the memories of the past. Upon hearing that his son had angered someone into fainting, it was the daughter of an old acquaintance. He was filled with uncontrollable anger. He immediately declared sternly, Don't even think about marrying that Song family's second daughter into this house. A daughter born to a woman from a brothel. How could she ever be worthy of being compared to Fuyao? It's true that the Zhuang woman was from a brothel. He and the irresponsible father became acquainted during difficult times. Before the irresponsible father married his mother, he had already purchased a property elsewhere and arranged for the Zhuang woman to live there. It wasn't until my mother gave birth to me that the scoundrel father brought the Zhuang woman and her 2 children into the house. Only then did my mother realize she had been tricked into marriage. Zhuang gained favor, scheming against him at every turn, skilled in the art of seduction, winning the scoundrel father's affection the most. Everyone in the household claimed my mother died from depression. But I refused to believe it. The scoundrel father was so fond of women from brothels. I decided to let him meet his end in the company of brothel women. The Zhuang family seems to take such pleasure in serving others. In the future, send them to the military camp. Everything has been meticulously arranged. Lu Chuan was wholeheartedly protecting Song Jin, and ended up opposing Madame Liu. If he cannot marry Jin, then let the son become a monk. Is he truly so deeply in love? Then I shall grant his wish. That night, I sneaked into Lu Chuan's bedroom. I tapped on his pressure point to make him unconscious. Out of goodwill, I shaved his head completely bald. By the next day, Lu Chuan still hadn't left the residence. The news about him falling victim to a mysterious bald patch had already spread widely throughout the city. The whole incident was indeed peculiar. People would rather suspect it was the work of spirits than consider the possibility that I was involved. Now, even if Lu Chuan wants to arrange a marriage, the selfish father no longer wants to bother. Because the selfish father has finally come to realize that now, under his roof, I am the only daughter who still holds some value to him. My elder brother is ruined. The selfish father also discovered that Song Jinying's face is ruined as well. What used to be a face with some delicate charm is now dark, swollen, and resembles a pig's head. He has recently been deeply infatuated with his concubine. His only wish is for a child to be born soon. But he remains completely unaware that with each effort he makes, he draws himself closer to the gates of the underworld. The selfish father aims to align himself with the Crown Prince's faction, and schemes to have the Crown Prince see my face. What he didn't expect was, the legitimate daughter he once despised would blossom into a delicate beauty. The Crown Prince already has a Crown Princess. If I were to catch his attention, I would only be able to become a concubine. On this day, at the birthday banquet of the eldest princess, my scoundrel father had my grandmother take me to the banquet. I saw Lu Chuan wearing a wig, in a place where no one was watching. I shot a pebble from my hand toward Lu Chuan's hairpiece. It struck his headpiece and sent it flying, exposing his completely bald head on the spot. For a moment, the crowd erupted in muffled laughter. Lu Chuan was utterly mortified. He wished he could dig a hole and bury himself in it. Who told him to shout that he'd rather become a monk than marry me? It was entirely his fault. I am such a delicate and frail woman. I must be completely innocent. I turned around and met a pair of deep, mysterious eyes. The owner of those eyes was calmly and leisurely gazing at me. He stood with his hands clasped behind his back, dressed in a luxurious robe. A faint smile lingered at the corner of his lips. It was the eldest prince. He was just about to speak. My body suddenly weakened. I almost lost my balance, barely managing to hold onto the railing for support. Your Highness, you startled me. You gave me quite a scare. The eldest prince's charming lips suddenly twitched. Miss Song, just now, with only a single pebble in hand, you flawlessly struck the fake hairpiece of someone several meters away. No matter how one looks at you, you don't seem like a fragile woman. Oh no, walking by the river often eventually leads to getting your shoes wet. Someone is coming this way. The Crown Prince is among them. I was instantly on the verge of tears, spreading falsehoods and slandering the eldest prince. How could you speak of me in such a way? I may be a bit delicate, but is that really my fault? It's not like I wanted it to be this way. The eldest prince could no longer muster a smile. The Crown Prince and the noble heirs exchanged uneasy glances. Especially the Crown Prince. His eyes rested on my face, exhibiting an obvious craving. Everyone pointed and whispered about the eldest prince. Elder royal brother, the Crown Prince. Miss Song appears to be somewhat frail, but there's no need for you to use this as an excuse to suppress her. The offspring of noble families. Indeed, she's just a fragile young woman. The eldest prince has truly gone too far. I slowly lifted my gaze. With teary eyes, I looked toward the eldest prince. Seeing the man with an expressionless face, I generously said it was nothing. I don't hold the eldest prince responsible. It's my own shortcomings. The eldest prince suddenly chuckled. He pressed his tongue lightly against the inside of his cheek. The Crown Prince was entirely focused on comforting me. He even grabbed my hand in front of others, with a grip that was neither too tight nor too loose. The horse flicked its tail a few times. The neglectful father emperor had already come to an understanding with him. The Crown Prince's reaction seems to indicate he's taken a liking to me. He seems fairly satisfied with me. I smiled shyly with a hint of bashfulness. Grabbing the Crown Prince's sleeve, I blew my nose forcefully. The Crown Prince paused, looking slightly startled. At last, he withdrew his inappropriate wandering hand. I felt incredibly bashful, shrinking my head timidly, like a helpless and delicate beauty. The Crown Prince desires but also despises, temporarily breaking free. I headed to the kitchen to create a diversion. The cook secretly added a laxative to the Crown Prince's exclusive ginseng soup. The scoundrel father aligned himself with the Crown Prince. Then I'll make the Crown Prince lose composure in public. Cause him to vomit and have diarrhea on the spot. Make him utterly humiliated. Leave him with no dignity to face anyone. This is truly a blow that cuts deep to the heart. It fits my temperament perfectly. The laxative had just been stirred thoroughly. A shadow loomed over me. The hidden arrow in my sleeve was about to be released. When I caught sight of a familiar face, it was the eldest prince again. Suddenly, a wave of excitement surged within me. At long last, someone had uncovered my true identity. I tilted my head and broke into a crooked grin. The Crown Prince was caught off guard. The silver needle shot out. It hit him squarely on the neck. His pupils widened in shock. His handsome face was filled with utter disbelief. At the same time, the soft sword at his waist had already been drawn. But I still managed to gain the upper hand. Just before he passed out, his piercing eyes locked onto me with an unwavering stare. I dragged the Crown Prince to a secluded spot first, go again to witness the Crown Prince making a fool of himself. Just as I expected, the Crown Prince suffered from severe vomiting and diarrhea right under the noses of the nobility, sending the entire crowd into retreat. I left feeling completely satisfied, focusing entirely on teasing my new prey. The front yard was excessively noisy. Even the kitchen staff sneaked off to watch the commotion. I pulled the noble and distinguished eldest prince onto the cart delivering dishes, and transported it out of the princess's residence through the side gate. By the time the Crown Prince opened his eyes, the sky had already turned dark. Before he could figure out where he was, the dagger in my hand was already pressed against his sash. I gave him two options: join me or align with the Eastern Depot. Pick one. The Crown Prince, who would usually remain unfazed even if the sky fell, finally showed a change in his expression. He attempted to move, only to realize that both hands were tied. He tried whistling again. My fingertips pressed gently against his lips, applied just the right amount of pressure. Stop struggling, you little fool. Your two shadow guards are still unconscious. Oh, by the way, you have been affected by a paralyzing powder. Even if you scream your lungs out, no one will come to save you. You've uncovered my true identity. I have no choice but to eliminate you. Tell me, what will you decide? The Crown Prince, Jiang Lishuan's usually calm and handsome face suddenly flushed for some inexplicable reason. I jabbed his side with a dagger. Answer the question I asked you. Why is your face turning red? When the man fired the gun, his voice sounded slightly hoarse. Xiao Chongfeng tilted his head with a puzzled expression. The man clarified, my name is Xiao Chongfeng. Miss Song Fuyao, since I have chosen to join, you should change my name. The dagger in my hand kept slowly moving downward, until it stopped at the most critical spot. Xiao Chongfeng's entire body was tense. His Adam's apple moved up and down repeatedly. I sighed, making such a quick decision. It's no fun. Maybe I should still send you to the Eastern Depot. I swiftly brought down the blade. At the most critical moment, Xiao Chongfeng shouted that he knew where my mother was. When not striking decisively, people tend to hide and withhold things. I knew right then that my mother was still alive. A woman as radiant as that. She had clearly told me time and time again. A man's love is hardly worth mentioning. Living well is the true principle of life. He wouldn't just succumb to despair and meet his end. The dagger was barely withdrawn again. Xiao Chongfeng took a deep breath. I tapped his face lightly with the dagger. Smiling, I said, go ahead and speak. You only get one chance. I'm not one to hold back, you know. Xiao Chongfeng took a couple of deep breaths repeatedly. Not a single word was superfluous. Every word carried weight. Song Xia sold his wife to gain status and wealth. Your mother caught the attention of my father, the emperor, more than a decade ago at a palace banquet. She was directly kept in the palace. He has been confined in the palace chambers all along. He is my father's caged bird. As soon as Xiao Chongfeng finished speaking, I placed a parasite into his mouth. He swallowed it hesitantly, asking if I had fed it to him. What? I continued to smile as if nothing had happened. I have fed you a parasite worm. The mother worm resides within me. If I die, you will perish as well. Thus, not only can you not seek revenge against me, You still need to ensure my safety. Since you decided to join me, then I might as well tell you. If I were the ruler. Xiao Chongfeng, I lifted the man's chin. The fingertips slowly moved downward, gliding over his Adam's apple a few times. Do you dare to say you don't want to be emperor? I helped you teach the crown prince a lesson today. Our cooperation can truly be described as a perfect match. To strengthen our alliance, we shall get engaged. From now on, we are like grasshoppers tied to the same rope. Xiao Chongfeng took another deep breath. Miss Song, you are betrothed to Lu Chuan. Aren't you worried that I might not be a good match? I tilted my head slightly, looking at him with a peculiar gaze. Why would I need a good match? Besides, I have 100 ways to take you down. If it doesn't work out, I can always replace you with someone else. Xiao Chongfeng was so furious, he ended up laughing. Yet it didn't really seem like he was genuinely angry. Since we've already reached an agreement, can Miss Song let go of me now? I followed with a smile. Why should I let you go? Tonight, the matter will be settled once and for all. Xiao Chongfeng likely never anticipated things would unfold in this manner. By the time he realized something was wrong with his condition, it was already too late. I released his wrist, granting him freedom. He could no longer take a step forward. His deep eyes gradually turned red. His striking Adam's apple moved up and down continuously. I raised my hand and pressed it on his shoulder, pushing him step by step toward the edge of the bed. Xiao Chongfeng collapsed onto it. At a critical moment, he hoarsely asked me, Miss Song, will you take responsibility? He didn't seem entirely certain. It felt like he didn't fully trust me. I shrugged and waited to see how you would perform. The eldest prince, who was always as steady as a rock, remained calm at midnight. His empty gaze was fixed on the top of the tent. He raised his hand and lightly brushed his prominent nose, then scratched the back of his ear. At last, it seemed he had made some sort of decision. His voice was still hoarse and deep, with a lingering trace of desire. I wonder if Miss Song is satisfied. I casually replied with a vague response. I slowly sat up. I turned my back to Xiao Chongfeng while getting dressed. A man shouldn't push too hard. It could make one overly proud. As I was leaving, Xiao Chongfeng behind me let out a frustrated laugh. This is the first time I've encountered such a situation. And you lost yourself so easily. I turned back in confusion. What else could it be? At least it's better than losing one's life. I've already been holding myself back as much as I can. What else are you dissatisfied with? Xiao Chongfeng returned to the Prime Minister's residence. It was already dawn. Grandmother had just sent a maid over. Staying out all night is undoubtedly a grave offense. Yet I ended up falling into the maid's embrace myself. Sobbing uncontrollably, I felt life was unbearable. The crown prince has stolen my purity. I will bid farewell to grandmother and father now. Then I'll hang myself with a white silk ribbon. Grandmother and father rushed over in shock upon hearing the news. Father's mouth sores had worsened significantly. Even speaking loudly had become a struggle. He asked what exactly had happened. I fabricated a story step by step. Yesterday, I attended a banquet at the princess's residence. I had no idea who tampered with my drink. When I regained consciousness, I found the eldest prince lying beside me. Your daughter has already shared an intimate moment with him. The irresponsible father hesitated only for a brief moment. He quickly came up with a solution. The crown prince completely lost face yesterday. His position as the heir is now in jeopardy. The future emperor. It is certainly impossible to choose someone who would publicly lose control in such an embarrassing manner. And no matter how noble the Liu family may be, they cannot compare to the eldest prince. The scoundrel father's eyes lit up with excitement. Fu Yao, you have made a remarkable achievement. The Song family's prosperity and wealth are counting on you. That day, the irresponsible father went to the Liu family to arrange a marriage. He wanted to marry Song Jin off to Lu Chuan, a daughter with a ruined face, as long as he can get rid of her. To that father, it was a deal worth making. Lu Chuan hadn't seen Song Jin in a long time. He readily agreed, thanking the minister for fulfilling his union with Jin. The irresponsible father then made another trip to the palace. When he returned, he was holding an imperial edict granting a marriage. And, just like that, I quickly became the crown prince's consort. Before the grand wedding, the prime minister's residence was shrouded in gloom. Grandmother began experiencing severe chest pain. Her health deteriorated, and she grew increasingly frail. The burdens of life started to take their toll. My eldest uncle frequently suffered from intense itching all over his body. It seemed his syphilis was finally taking its course. I glanced again at Aunt Zhuang, whose figure was round and completely shadowed in darkness. Her appearance had become utterly unrecognizable. Song Jin's face was caked with heavy makeup. It was genuinely terrifying. My crippled elder brother grew more haggard with each passing day. This prime minister's residence had lost all its appeal. It was time for me to dust off my hands and leave. I needed to seek out a new battlefield. Otherwise, wouldn't it be unbearably dull? The night was dark and the wind was fierce. I barged into the crown prince's bedroom. Xiao Changfeng woke up startled. There seemed to be a faint sound. I folded my arms and walked up to him. "Don't be afraid, it's me." The moment Xiao Changfeng recognized me, he raised his hand and wiped his face. Then he let out a deep sigh. "Why are you here?" I said bluntly, "I'm here to sleep with you." Over an hour later, the eldest prince wrapped himself in the quilt. His cheeks were flushed. He cleared his throat. In a gentle voice, he asked if I would be going back tonight. I got up and began to dress, turning my back to him. I replied that I was heading back now. "I came to inform you that the wedding date has been moved up." "Surely, I don't need to tell you what to do about it." Xiao Changfeng was left speechless. Why is this so urgent? Of course it's urgent. There's no reason to stay in the Prime Minister's residence anymore. I need to enter the palace to find out about my mother's whereabouts. I spoke concisely and to the point. You must have the Azure Sky Sword go before the Emperor tomorrow morning. Just say the Crown Prince is afflicted by an evil spirit. The royal family needs a joyous event to dispel the misfortune immediately. If the Azure Sky Sword refuses to comply, you simply devised a way to force him into compliance. Before leaving, I turned back and leaned down to kiss Xiao Changfeng's lips. The soft sensation was absolutely delightful. Without hesitation, I pressed him down and kissed him for a long time. This matter was as thrilling as taking a life. Xiao Changfeng was very obedient, several days ahead of schedule. On the day of leaving the household, Song Jin came to see me with her face veiled. "Sister, even though you've married into the royal family, I'm the one who truly holds his heart. For the rest of my life, only I can stay by Brother Lu's side." I glanced at him briefly, not bothering to waste words. There's clearly something wrong with his mind. He must be nothing more than a fool. While I can still catch my breath, I might as well eat a few more bites. "Sister Songjin, what do you mean by this?" I smiled faintly without saying a word. The Prime Minister's residence is on the verge of being confiscated. Not a single member of the family will be spared. On the wedding night, with the experience from the previous 2 times, Xiao Changfeng performed exceptionally well tonight. Tonight, he excelled in his performance. "You are entirely mine now," he sighed with satisfaction. All of a sudden, I turned over and pinned him down, waving a finger in front of him. "It should be you. Let me remind you once more, it's mine. You have a unique bone structure within your body. If you die, I will still live on. If I die, you will only meet the same fate." Offering tea the next day, I teamed up with Xiao Changfeng to put on a show. I flirted with the crown prince. He immediately fell for it. Xiao Changfeng then stepped forward to catch the adulterers in the act. Meanwhile, I tearfully went to the emperor to complain. "Father, please stand up for your child. The crown prince has improper intentions toward me. I am his sister-in-law after all." Fainting from grief, I collapsed into Xiao Changfeng's arms. Xiao Changfeng has always been composed and steady, but he was influenced by my emotions, playing along with the act. "Father, the crown prince has gone too far." The emperor was furious. Finally, there was an excuse to depose the crown prince. The crown prince's reputation was already tarnished last time. He would only bring disgrace to the royal family's prestige. Even without the act staged by me and Xiao Changfeng, the emperor still wanted to depose him. But this move would undoubtedly anger the empress's faction. Back at the eldest prince's residence, I played a game of chess with Xiao Changfeng. Why is my lady so certain? The empress's faction is bound to be forced into rebellion. The crown prince was destined to be the heir from birth. The empress's faction has been plotting for 20 years. How could they let go so easily? What you said, my lady, is absolutely correct. You and I need only wait like the patient sparrow and claim the prize as the fisherman. Xiao Changfeng stared blankly at me, his eyes filled with a fiery red hue, matching a face of cold, restrained elegance. Let the imagination run wild. My dear, would you like to rest at noon? I can carry you back to the room. I cooperated fully. On days when taking life is forbidden, it's necessary to find something else to divert attention. The Empress's faction has rebelled. I instructed Xiao Changfeng to take advantage of the situation. As for me, I ventured into the forbidden grounds of the harem. There, I discovered my mother, her ankle locked in chains. She was just as beautiful and gentle as I remembered, but her gaze was filled with confusion. Her mind seemed clouded and unclear. I immediately recognized she had been under long-term medication. Mother, I am Fuyo. I have come to free Mother from this cage. Mother remained in a daze. As I lowered my head between his knees, he instinctively placed a gentle hand on my back, muttering words under his breath. Ah, Yao, I blinked my eyes, smiling like a little child. Mother Io has avenged you. None of the enemies met a good end. Did Io do a good job? I also followed the master's advice. I must not let anyone see my true face. I really am obedient and well-behaved. Meanwhile, Xiao Changfeng defeated the rebellious bandits. The Crown Prince and the Empress are dead. Outsiders believe the old emperor was killed by the Crown Prince. In truth, he still had one life left. I still have countless strategies. Using them on him would be far too lenient. Xiao Changfeng ascended the throne as the new emperor, leading to the confiscation of the prime minister's estate. The scoundrel father was covered in syphilitic sores when he was sent to the guillotine, pelted with rotting vegetables by the townsfolk. They cursed him as filthy and vile. Lu Chuan carried Song Jin back to the Lu family home. But the moment he saw the true appearance, Lu Chuan was nearly frightened into fainting. He adamantly insisted that he was not the beloved sister he cherished. Song Jin was expelled from the household. Her whereabouts became unknown. The new emperor had just ascended to the throne. Court officials immediately submitted petitions urging him to expand his harem. On this particular day, Xiao Changfeng returned to his inner chamber. He immediately dismissed all palace attendants. Closing the doors, he made a solemn vow to the heavens. Empress, I swear I will never take another concubine. I looked at him in utter confusion. Why am I the only one left in the harem? It truly feels tedious. Xiao Changfeng crouched down slightly in front of me. He took hold of my hand. But, Empress, those noble women are innocent. You can vent all your frustrations on me alone. Xiao Changfeng publicly claimed that the Empress is frail and overly sensitive, and cannot endure even the slightest grievance. He loves me deeply. He wants to abolish the harem for me. I feel like I can hardly live this way. It would be unbearably boring. But then I thought again. There are still quite a few corrupt officials in the court. My eyes instantly lit up. The emperor heard that the son of the king of the southwest has arrived in the capital. The crown prince's faction has not been completely dealt with yet. Let me help ease your worries. Xiao Changfeng wrapped his arms tightly around my waist. He was extremely nervous. The empress must remember to hold back a little. The story ends here, my dears. Guy updates every morning at 4:45 sharp. It's yet another day of loving you all.